Evening, all. Good evening. Good evening to you. Mm. Sending out the notification. We will kick off in a couple of moments, a couple of minutes, in fact. Share this out. Do a watch party. I believe it's what it's called. If you think this topic will be interesting, if you watched any of my broadcasts, and you still watching them, then you pretty much know how I get down. Now, of course, you don't know what I'm gonna say, but you know at least where I take things. So I'm gonna make you think. I'm gonna challenge you. So if you believe you have some people on your Facebook pages that could benefit, don't be shy. Share this out. Get this on your page. Do a watch party, and that will encourage others to take a look. If you're sharing it and they trust you, then that will give them a reason to maybe look in on the broadcast. If you feel like this stuff is beneficial, don't be selfish. Share, right? But we'll kick off in about a minute. I like to let it go about a minute or two to give that notification and let everybody know I'm here. I try to be consistent so people will be anticipating my presence. Anyway, okay, 9 o'clock. I'm not one for delay and wait for numbers and all of that kind of thing. People kind of trickle in and out, and I know how this thing works where you can actually just, if you're on like your laptop or your home computer, you can actually be watching to some extent without clicking on to the broadcast. So whoever's watching will watch, whoever's not will not. That's how it goes. That being said, our topic is one of the more serious topics we've dealt with. I've had conversations even recently with someone dealing with someone indirectly about this. I do appreciate Ms. Joy Dabney for presenting it as as a topic for discussion, and I'm bringing her up because I want to encourage you all to present something to me. Sometimes I get things from conversations with people, just me listening to them, and then it becomes a topic. Sometimes somebody may say something directly to me, and Gabe, how about this? So this is in honor of Miss Dabney, and so we are more than happy to venture into this topic. Let me say this. I know I probably say it every week, but let me say it again. I have no assumptions that I know everything about any particular topic. That's not what the point of this is. The point is for me to make some comments, to say some things about a particular subject, that makes you stop and go, I never thought about it that way. And if I do that for you, then I'm successful. If I can get you saying to yourself, I never thought about it that way, I've done what I've come here to do. If that's all that happens, you may not walk away with a specific solution, some particular action point, though I do give some throughout my talks. But really, I want to make you go, And if I can do that, I never saw it that way. That's another way to see it. Even if you don't end up agreeing with me, that's fine. That's fine. But if you can find yourself going, now that's another way to see that, because let me tell you what happens to us. We bog down in life. We all know it. We get stagnant, is a word my sister uses a lot. You feel stagnant, and depression can set in. All kind of stuff can happen when you feel like your life is ground to a halt and you don't have at least another option. So part of what I try to do with these talks is to say something that gives you another option, at least to consider. Something else, another possibility. Somebody called me yesterday, day before. I think more than just listen, but anyway, they had a family situation they're dealing with, and they pretty much, I agree with most of what they said, so there wasn't much for me to say. But I had 2 or 3 other things that I offered as a solution. Now, they ultimately did whatever they're going to do. But that's what I try to do. I try to offer another angle, another way to see it. Now, obviously, I'm a Christian, so I'm not going to give you some wild, illegal, crazy madness. But I'm going to keep it as close to the vest as possible in terms of what is proper. But I'm still going to challenge you if that's what you're looking for. And that's what these talks on Thursdays do. So, first of all, to all who are watching, good evening to you. It's 9 o'clock, so it's definitely not the afternoon. Let's get into the topic. Now, I just have this up just because I want to kind of read what I wrote, because I want to touch as much of this as possible. Let's see, parents and their grown children. So, what drives a parent to continue to raise their children into and throughout their adult lives? What, if any, is the reasoning for treating people old enough to vote, work, have families of their own, as if they are nothing more than adolescent children? Is there any potential temporary or long-term effects on such parenting behaviors? If so, what might they be? And if you identify yourself as this type of parent, are there any things you can do to rectify or fix those effects? And of course, that's what we're talking about tonight. I posted a couple of articles just because, one by a doctor, a PhD, I believe, in child psychology. I read through the majority of them. The majority of it in that particular article, I think, is on fathers or on dads. I'm not fully endorsing every single thing they say, but I wanted to just give some more opportunity, again, some more information. And if you feel like you may struggle with some of this stuff, you have grown children, grandchildren that are maybe even of age, read those articles, talk to people who might be able to give you some insight, pastors, etc., pastors with children in particular, but, pastors, obviously I am one. So that's my recommendation. Right off the rip, right? Again, I don't have all the answers. I try to tailor this just to get you thinking. So the first question out the box is, what drives a parent to continue to raise their children into and throughout their adult lives? One of the things I read in the articles, I think, about the father is that one of the things that they cite is, I don't want them to ruin their lives, or I don't want them to make mistakes. Okay? So let's deal with, and I think that was on the fathers, and that is kind of one of those fatherly things. I shouldn't even call it fatherly. That is kind of an angle fathers will take. Fathers will oftentimes try to push their sons in particular into certain careers, especially if they feel like they've been successful. We're obviously going to have to touch living vicariously through our children. We're going to have to definitely deal with that one. Why? Because that's a part of the reason why, often unspoken, people with grown children will do that. But before I deal with that about the whole don't ruin their lives, here's the one that I've heard the most. Yes, I've had this conversation. Gabe, you talk about everything. Yes, I do. People call me, text me, message me about everything. So here's the one I've heard the most. Here's the reason I've heard the most. It's my child. Point blank. I don't care what anybody has to say. I birthed that child, so you know who I'm talking to. I birthed that boy, that girl. They're my child. I don't care if they are 30. I'm going to always be their mama. I'm going to always be their daddy. I don't care. That's my child. Now, there's no arguing the biological connection, right? Indeed, that is your biological child. But that person is not a child any longer. So let's just call it what it is. Arrogance. Let's just call it what it is. Pride. Let's just call it what it is. Stupid. So my father said this many years ago, and I like to think I listen from time to time. He said, are you raising your children to be children, Are you raising your children, again acknowledging that they're biologically your children, to be adults? Now at the time it's like, well duh, you're raising your children to be adults. But now that I've come of age, obviously I've been an adult for nearly 30 years, I realize that's not always the case. And I suspect that some of you, either you've done this or you're doing this, or you know someone who's done it, or maybe it was done to you. We'll get to that in a minute. What do you do when in your mind this child was born, you provided for this child food, clothing, shelter, and in your mind, or in this kind of person's mind, they're under the impression that there's a let me just use the word, ownership. That indeed this is not just simply your child. No, you own this human being. My sister used to jokingly say, when my mother, we'd go to what is that, hometown buffet. This was obviously many years ago. I don't think it's still open now. We would go to hometown buffet, and so it's all you can eat, and all you can eat desserts, whatever. And so my mom would be like, Kat, my sister's name is Catherine, Kat, go up there and get me some ice cream. My sister, without even missing a beat, would say, slavery days are over. Yeah, she did. She said it. That's what she would say. What do you want me to do? We would look at her like, you are the craziest chick on the planet. Now, granted, she would eventually get up and go get the ice cream. Make no mistake about that. But we would all just kind of grimace and laugh a little bit and just move along. And my mother would say, yes, Kat, you are right. Slavery is over. Now, my sister didn't say this as a 16-year-old. She said this as a 20-something-year-old. She was grown. She wasn't a child. She was my mother. She is my mother's daughter. But she was not an infant. She was not a pre-adolescent. She was not an adolescent. She was not a teen. She was grown. She is grown. Have been grown for a minute. She's been grown for a while. And the reality of it is, when my mother said, go do this, probably didn't give a lot of thought to the fact that the way she said it, she was talking to a grown person. She didn't register at the moment because that's her daughter. That's her child. She birthed her at that point 20 years before. There's an amazing thing, and mothers, stay with me for a second, don't get mad at me. There's an amazing thing about birthing a child onto the planet. That's amazing, right? There's no doubt about that. Thank God for mothers, right? Mother's Day is coming up quickly. Thank God for you. But that doesn't mean ownership. Stop with this madness about the fact that because I birthed you, I own you. You don't own that child. You don't own that child. There's laws against that. We don't own our children. We don't own them. They are not our property. Oh, you didn't think I was going to go there tonight? Of course I am. What do you think I do? We don't own our children. And mothers have this tendency to go, well, because I birthed you, as if that child was like, I want to be born. You, lady, birthed me. And you're saying, well, because I birthed you, the child did not ask to be conceived. The child did not ask to be born. So then to spend the rest of that child's life saying, you have to do what I say, you have to be who I want you to be because I laid down and eventually conceived you and then caused you to be pushed out and born. And I've heard women go so deep as, I should have just held my legs closed. I mean, wow. Essentially, and kill the child. Because that's what would have happened. We have to be careful to understand that while, yes, you birthed the child, there's no, who's arguing that? The birth certificate says your name and the child's name. But that does not give you the sense of ownership, because if that's the fact, guess what? Your mama owns you. See, if we carry this to its logical conclusion that, well, I birthed that child, so I own that child, then that means your parents own you. So let me ask you, for those who might even formulate in your mind anger with me, because I have the nerve to say it out loud, do you let your parents own you? Do you let your parents dictate to you what your life should be? If your mom and your dad are still blessed to be alive, are they dictating to you? Do they own you? Even if you have grown children, did you let your parents own you? I don't mean did you respect them. I mean, did you let them own you? Command you at 18, 28, 38, 48, 58. Did your parents command you, demand you, and you stepped and fetched? Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Because if you didn't do it, why in the world do you think by virtue of birthing the child, that gives you the right to do that? Let's go back to the fathers and that article. Fathers, just because you think you're smarter than everyone else, because that's, you know what we suffer with, fellas. We think we're smarter than everyone else. So we're going to dictate to that child or to our children that if you don't become what I want you to become, I'll cut you out of my will. Oh, fathers, come on. And fathers ain't the only ones. But fathers love that I'll cut you out of my will. Well, brother, you ain't got nothing. This measly old little house. I'll go get my own house. See, we have to understand the psychological ramifications. Well, Gabe, I'm a Christian, so I don't deal with the psychological ramifications. You don't realize how many people I minister to who, yeah, love the Lord, don't get it twisted, but they are still struggling with the psychological effects of things that they went through as children. This doesn't start when your child is grown. This starts when your child is little. And the way you speak to your child suggests to them, and this is why they rebel like crazy people. Because they're, as a matter of fact, that was on one of the articles. They're under the impression that even when they turn 18, they're not going to actually be allowed to be grown people. I have people telling me about, Gabe, I left the house at 13. I'm like, huh? 13? 13. You left the house at who? And I figured it out. Yeah, you did. But let's be honest. 13? 13? 15? You can't get no job legally at that age unless you know, oh, they're illegal. You're lying. You're lying. Or you're working under the table. Or you're doing some other things that, of course, nobody wants me to list. And I'm not going to because my son is on the other side of that wall. The reality of it is that we don't want to brag in that we had to start our adult life at some ridiculously young age. That ain't nothing to be proud of. Why would you be proud of that? That means you had to fight the system that most of us don't even want to start fighting until we're in our late teens, early 20s, and you were in your early teens, mid-teens out there fighting with grown people in the dog-eat-dog world. And I hope we get this as parents, that we may be the ones who push them out into that world. Well, I had to survive. Here's another one I've heard. Well, I had to survive. They should have to survive. There should be something in your mind that remembers the pains and the angst and the anxieties and the frustrations of trying to do what you knew you should not have had to do at an extremely young age, trying to break away from some overbearing parents, and now all of a sudden you're deciding to do this to your children. Or the opposite. Instead of just neglecting them and act like they don't exist, which is a whole other discussion, you decide, to be overbearing. There you go. And you decide, well, I'm not going to let them make any decision. I'm going to choose the college. I'm going to choose the spouse. I'm going to choose the jobs. I'm going to choose where they live. I'm going to choose what they drive. I'm going to choose what they eat. I got a dear friend who told me that a 20-something-year-old young lady can get grounded. Grounded. I'm sitting there like, grounded? How you get grounded at 20-something years old? This is a person who can go out and engage in activities to birth children. This is a person who can clearly vote. on presidential and other elections. This is a person who could buy a house. This is a person who could go to jail and be tried as an adult. This is a person who is as grown as any. Oh, I know y'all don't want to hear that. Don't you say that, Gabe. I know they grown, but they not grown like me. Can somebody help me? Somebody type something to me. Chat with me. Is there two different kind of growns? Help me out. Educate me. Talk to me. Let's chat. Is there two different kind of growns? Because I done heard too many people who are older than me trying to suggest to me that there's some different kind of grown. See, this is a different kind of grown than that grown. No. In the United States of America, when you turn 18, they don't go, you almost near possibly grown, or you have a stylized grown. No, you grown. You may be immature, I give you that, but you're grown. And at some point or another, we have to stop this madness that there's some different kind of grown. I am as grown as my 70 and 69-year-old mother and father. Period. There is no question that I am as grown as they are. Do I have as many experiences? Obviously not, since they're 20 some odd years older than me. Obviously not. But what does the number of experiences got to do with being grown? Are you raising your children to have a complete total collection of experiences? Well, they're never going to catch up to you. You're not raising your children. Here we go. Let's give a solution here. We're not supposed to raise our children to become us. Or we're not supposed to raise our children to be the opposite of us. Either way, we're supposed to raise our children to become them. They're not us. First of all, they can't be us, because to be us means they have to have our parents. To be us, that means they have to have our exact experiences. To be us, they have to have our way of thinking. My son is named Gabriel Matthews, but he ain't me. His mother's named Tara, but he ain't her either. I don't care how much of his characteristics model after me and his mother, he's not either one of us. He's not either one of us. So the reality of it is, this notion, this idea that we're raising our children to become microcosms of ourselves is foolishness. Because I'm going to ask the same kind of question I just asked you 5 minutes ago. Are you a microcosm of your parents? Did you become and do exactly what they wanted you to become and do? I promise you, my parents did not plan in their minds for their son to live in Louisiana. I promise you, my parents did not plan in their mind for their son, me, to go through divorce 3 times. I promise you, my parents did not design in their mind for me to have allergies, for me to deal with all kinds of high blood pressure, but I am. They didn't want that, but I'm dealing with that. It is what it is. It's my life. They don't have allergies. I do. They're not left-handed. I am. There's nothing they can do. We don't get to dictate who our children are exactly. So then, what is raising children in the first place? We might as well address it, since that's what we're talking about. You know what raising children really is? It is about character. It is about the molding and developing of who they are to the expression on the outside. You really can't dictate. Now, there's some who would tell me different, right? Gabe, I told my son to be a lawyer, he became a lawyer. I told my daughter to be a doctor, she became a doctor. I told them to go to Harvard, they went to Harvard. I said, if you don't do this, I'm going to cut you out my will. So they did everything. They married the exact woman I told them to marry. They went down to the exact schools I said to go to. They are doing exactly, they go to the church I told them. I mean, I see this in church all the time. I said, I want them to go to Bethel, blah, blah, blah. They go to Bethel. But my question, if I could get to their child, their grown child, and they tell me the truth, a lot of times they're depressed. Wait a minute, not my son. Yes, your son. Yes, your daughter. Let's get to some effects here. Depression. One of the things that the article said about fathers in particular being overbearing is the children won't talk to their dads because their dads are overbearing. Their dads are overbearing. They don't ever give them opportunities to make choices. They don't, when they're growing up, they don't let them do anything, especially dads. I'm sorry, pops. I'm sorry, dads. We got to just be real about this. I let my son choose even some of the most mundane things you'd be like, Gabe, who cares? No, he needs a sense of responsibility for something that is actually significant. Like, what are we going to eat tonight? Now, obviously, his mom's on here and she knows what that's going to be. Yeah, pizza, all right? Okay. But even still, even though I know what it's going to be, I want him to choose. Son, do you want to watch this or watch this? Yeah, I may control the choices because I have to keep him safe. But the reality of it is, at some point, exactly. And even, you're right, Miss Allen, that they need attention and love and respect, but they also need to be honored for their humanity. And let me just say this, if you're one of those parents, I don't know if you are, don't tell me, but if you're one of those parents, Gabe, I don't care what you tell me, and I'm ready to just go off. Well, go off then, because I'm not your child. I'll rip your head off. Go off on me. Call me. Let's talk. I promise you, I will take your head off. Because I'm telling you, as a person who is educated in psychology, you are damaging that child. You don't even realize that that child is being damaged. You are damaging them. Has any, ladies, help me out on this. Help me out, ladies. Have you ever used the phrase mama's boy? Oh, I'm going to get in trouble. I might as well. I mean, I anticipate getting in trouble every week. Ladies, have you ever come across a grown man who has the nerve to show interest in you and he can't make no decision without his mama? Somebody help me out. I'll give you a second. Go ahead. Has anybody ever come across a mama's boy? This is exactly what I'm talking about. Well, I want to take, hey, boo, I want to take you to dinner, but let me check with my mama. Did he just say he want to take me to dinner, but he got to call his mama? I think I heard him say that, right? This dude is 50 years old. I know he didn't just tell me that he want to take me to dinner, but he got to check with his mama. Now, some of you in the initial might be, oh, that's so sweet. That's so sweet. He want to check with his mother. Well, call me so I can tell you that ain't sweet. Run! Get away from him as fast as you can. Oh, Gabe, his mom is elderly. He just want to make sure she's okay. Think about this. Hey, I want to take you to dinner on Saturday night, but let me check with my mom to see what she's doing first. First? Why you even mention it to me, dude, if you have a responsibility for your mama? I'm not trying to be rude. I'm just saying, you 60 years old talking about my mama. Okay, I hear you. Your mom is 80, right? Yeah, okay, I feel you. So just take care of your mama. Why are you trying to date, dog? Because if you trying to date, it ain't going to work. Well, Gabe, no. Ladies, I'm not trying to be mean, but I have talked to ladies. Well, Gabe, no. I understand because when my mom was sick, I took care of her, but you probably wasn't trying to go out on dates, were you? Well, no, exactly. He's a mama's boy. I'm just saying. He's a mama's boy. And he's 60 years old. He's 50 years old. He's 40 years old. He's 30 years old. That means he's talking to your daughter. He's talking to your granddaughter. He's a grown man, and he can't make no decision unless he talk to his mama. Oh, let me be fair, because I don't want nobody to get mad at me. Daddy's girls. Oh, Gabe, I'm a daddy's girl. I'm a daddy's girl. I leave daddy's girls so alone, you can't understand. I don't want to deal with you at all. Not even socially. And I might not even minister to you. I'm just trying to tell you the truth. Gabe, no. Let me tell you why. Because now my sister is a daddy's girl, but you gotta understand, I know her father. Yeah, I know her father very well because he's my father. That's a different situation. Trust me. So I could talk crazy to her because that's my sister. But the reality of it is, I feel sorry for any dude because, I talk to my dad. And make it worse for them, I talk to my brothers too. So it just is what it is for them. You know, it is what it is for them. But the reality of it is, I'm not too keen on daddy's girls. Well, my daddy said, and I'm sitting there, okay, did you listen to everything your daddy said? No. So then why are you throwing him in my face? Really? Do you make any decision on your own? Well, my daddy just protects me. Well, then go live with your dad. Because I'm not finna compete with your dad. And I'm speaking for every brother out there who ain't interested in competing. Well, I already got your attention, but I'm competing with your dad. And look, it's even worse when the father has passed away. Because now it's her interpretation. It's her interpretation of whatever she says her dad is talking about. Well, if my dad was here, well, he ain't here. I mean, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but he ain't here. He's not here. He's not here. I mean, Gabe, I know, Gabe, I know. Well, then I don't want to hear about your dad every 5 seconds when I'm trying to make a decision. When I'm trying to tell you this is what it should be. Well, my dad, and of course, it's mama's girls and daddy's sons too. But understand, that's not necessarily. Wait a minute, Gabe, don't you get in trouble? Well, I'm gonna get in trouble. That ain't necessarily their fault. That's not necessarily their fault. You mean to tell me, Gabe, it's the parents' fault? Ding, 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 ding. What do we have for them, Johnny? And our consolation prize. Yes. You know who created that? The parent did. And I've had parents argue me down. Or we go toe to toe. I'm ready to go toe to toe. Well, Gabe, nobody else was there for me. I was a single dad. I was a single mom. And I had to do it by myself. And so we had to rely on each other. We're each other's best friends. That stuff scares me to death. When you say your children are your best friend, that scares me to death. Gabe, you better explain yourself. Well, here's the thing. When did that happen? That's my question. When did your child become your best friend? To me, are you calling them your best friend because you keep them close enough to keep your eye on them? I know mothers who go out with their sons. And I'm not talking about in some inappropriate way physically. I mean, because she's living vicariously. I told you to get to it eventually. So she's a 30-looking 50-year-old. So she's hanging out with her son at places that are for him. To me, that's overbearing. No, Gabe, we just go out and we chill and we drink and we all this. No, you don't understand psychologically the effect that has. He can't respect you as his mother ultimately because there's no lines. Where are the lines at? There's no lines. And an overbearing parent blurs all the lines. There's no lines. When you're overbearing, you all up in your child's life. Even if you're nice with it, you steal so much in your adult child's life, they have no lines. There's no lines between you and them. They don't know where you end and they begin. Which is why when they try to date, if you want to know the biggest effect, when they try to date, it gets really strange. Again, they keep making references to their parent and the people are like, I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but like, You sure bring up your dad a lot. You sure bring up your mom a lot. Oh, because we're so close. Oh, I know, that's so cute. That's so precious, but now it's kind of scary. Well, what you mean? I love my mama. I love my daddy. They don't even hear themselves. I have talked to these people. They can't hear themselves. They don't realize. Now, I have great respect for my parents. I refer to the things they taught me. Taught me. But you will never hear me say that I'm making any kind of today decision on the basis of what my dad just told me or my mom just told me. And yes, I have made bad choices, but it doesn't mean that my parents' choice for me would have been any better. And for you overbearing parents who might be listening to me, that's the lie you keep telling yourself. You assume that if they made a bad choice, you assume your choice would have automatically been better. How do you know? Do you know the future God? Mom? Do you know the future Holy Spirit? Dad? I didn't mean to confuse you with being God, but you're playing God when you assume that you would have known every decision. Well, hindsight is 2020. I told them they shouldn't have talked to her. I told them they shouldn't have talked to him. I told them they shouldn't have bought that car. I told them they shouldn't have lived over there. Now I got to go bail them out again. Why are you bailing them out? Because that's the situation you created. You can't even see. The reason why you have to keep bailing them out is because you are the overbearing parent. What? Yeah. Did you need proof? Did you need some kind of list to prove you're overbearing? The fact that you're always the one they call to bail them out is proof that you are the overbearing parent. And so even if they're 40 and you're 60, they don't have any sense of responsibility to struggle and almost die if they have to grow up. I said it. They have no humility. Oh, ladies, I'm coming back. I'm coming back, ladies. And men, I'm not trying to be mean, but I've had some conversations. Yeah, I'm sorry to laugh, but I've had some conversations with ladies who tell me stuff like this. Gabe, he didn't even know where to take me for dinner. I'm like, really? Yeah. Well, he took me to the place his mom likes to go. Oh, okay. No, nothing wrong with that, Gabe. You don't think that's creepy? No, I don't think that's creepy. Yeah, he wanted me to go to this club that him and his mom checked out. Now that one is a little creepy. I'm not gonna lie. That's a little creepy, a little bit. His mom is recommending. She's still picking his draws. She buying him draws. He 30. I don't mean no disrespect. I know that's your baby. Don't buy your son draws. That boy 30 years old. Let him buy his own underwear. Well, Gabe, I saw it on sale. There are some things that you should kind of leave alone at some point or another. You buying your son's underwear and he's 30 and 35 and 40 and 45 years old and 50. That's what you did when he was 2 and 5 and 10. You bought his underwear. Well, Gabe, I seen him naked when he was a child, but you hopefully haven't seen him naked as a grown man. Hopefully. How about this one? Ooh. Okay. Bills. Now, some of you married a man like this. I'm just, you married the guy. He won't even pay bills. His mom is covering his bills. Now, that's cool sometime. I get it. But his mom is paying his car note. His mom, and he got a whole job. See, let me give you some insight on what happens. That one of the things that can happen for a child who has an overbearing parent or over-involved parent is they become or they remain dependent, but they also can become manipulators. So what they'll start doing is taking advantage of that mom, taking advantage of that dad. So now they went from the parent telling them who to be and what to do, to, well, if I live the life you tell me to live, you got to fund that life. Oh, you don't like that one. You got to come up with the dough. You got to pay for it. You want me to be the doctor? You got to pay for it. You want me to be the lawyer? You got to pay for it. You want me to marry somebody who makes me miserable? You got to pay for it. You got to pay for it out your pocket. You got to pay for it with constantly coming to my rescue every time him and I get into an argument, or her and I get into an argument. You got to be the one who bails me out of jail every time I go and get drunk and have a few extra. You got to put up the bail money. You got to put up your house. You got to constantly be getting me out. Oh, I'm just getting started. I'm just getting started. Stay with me. I'm just getting, share this now, share this. Because now we getting real deep now. You mean to tell me, Gabe, that's a byproduct of me being overly involved in my child's life? Yes. Well, that's my child, and I ain't going to never let him see him go down. I ain't going to let him go down, Gabe. I can't let him go down. That's pride. That's pride. That's arrogance. Let me speak as a male. The last thing a boy becoming a man needs is his mom and his dad bailing him out at every turn. That's the last thing he needs, because that young man can have children and be somebody's dad. And if he's always relying on you to bail him out, what kind of man will he be? What kind of man will he be? Oh no, I'm not gonna calm down. This is how I talk. If you're not used to it, you're welcome to leave. This is how I talk. So understand the reality of it is, you're going to create in that young man in particular, I can't speak for girls, you're going to create in that young man an insecurity. He's going to have an insecurity, but he's going to be macho. He's going to be strong. He's going to be the one you call to come fix your car. He's going to be the one you call to come check and make sure everything is safe. He's going to be the one you call on as a man, but yet he can't make any decisions. He can't move up or down, in or out without you. That's not good. Because that same man, and I actually know some young men like this, can go out and lay with a woman and produce children. What kind of father do you think he's going to be? What kind of father do you think this young man is going to be? Do you think he's going to be plugged in? Do you think he's going to be ready to handle the responsibilities, from changing diapers to giving the advice to help that young boy or girl become a man themselves? And then you're displeased and unhappy with him because your grandchildren are almost a waste of space. Well, whose fault do you think it is? And I've had these conversations with grandparents. Oh, I'm not going to leave y'all out. Gabe, I just feel so bad. Pray for my son. Pray for my daughter. Why? What's wrong? What's wrong? Well, and they get quiet on me. Well, what's wrong? Well, see, what had happened was I might have been a little too strict. You might have been? Yeah, because I see him now with my granddaughter. I see him with my grandson, and I just don't like what I see. But I was that way too, because Gabe, I came up hard and they get defensive. I came up hard too. I was raised, and I was the 7th child of 22 children, and you just dog eat dog, Gabe. You had to get to the table. You had to scrap for food, and so I raised him not to be no punk. I raised him not to be no punk. So now, because you were so overbearing, now he's overbearing with your grandchildren, and you're ready to be all nice and easygoing. You want to be the nice and easygoing grandma who take the children out for ice cream and buy them stuff. And he's like, no, don't tell me not to buy. And there you go, right back into your overbearing ways. Boy, you my son. You can't tell me not to buy my grand. Yeah, he can. Yeah, he can. Those are his kids. Yeah, he can. Remember, that's how you raised them. You raised them to be overbearing, and now you have the nerve to get mad when you see exactly what you produced. You produced that. It ain't just his fault or her fault. You produced that. You created that. You were the one who inspired that overbearing disposition. Okay, if I wasn't overbearing, Yeah, but maybe you stayed in a relationship with a man or a woman who was overbearing and right at the border of abusive. They were abusive, and you know they were. Oh, Gabe, you getting in trouble. You're going to get in trouble, Gabe. Yeah, I'm going to get in trouble. You know me. I don't care. So understand, the truth of the matter is, maybe you weren't the overbearing parent, but you stayed just a little too long with that man or that woman who was overbearing, who was overruling, who was cruel, who was mean, and you tried to counter them. You tried your best to try to mitigate those circumstances, but it didn't work. You forgot that that person was in a position of influence. You forgot that they were learning from them too. And now you see the results in your grandkids. You see them getting fired from their jobs. And every time you ask them, well, why you get fired this time, son? Because that boss tried to tell me what to do. Shoot, I'm Lily Mae's son. Nobody tell Lily Mae what to do. Nobody tell Lily Mae what to do. That's right, Mom. Right, Lily Mae? Well, son, you right. Nobody tell me what to do, but son, you're getting fired from the job. Hey, I'll get another job. Overbearing. These are the results of parenting your child into adulthood. They can't have truly healthy, I should say can't, but oftentimes they don't have healthy relationships at all. Any. Co-workers, marital, dating, any kind of social interactions, they don't do well. They don't do well. They don't do well in those environments because people want equality in those environments. You can't talk to a contemporary and act like you're talking to your mama and your daddy who was overbearing. As a matter of fact, good friends will tell you, hey, dog, that don't work with me, man. That don't work. Hey, man, take that home to your mama. What? You heard what I said. Take that home to your mama. That don't work here with us. Hey, homegirl, chill. Chill. We don't do that here. Oh, my bad. I just had a bad day. No, it ain't just had a bad day. Because they were sitting there when your mom, and you 22 years old, and your mom was cussing you out, and your mom was going off on you because you didn't clean the room. Now, I saw this comment earlier. Yeah, but my house, my rules. Okay, let's talk about that. So let's say if the parent is 50 years old, so the likelihood is their child is grown. So the parent is 50, let's say the child is 30, and the child lives at home. All right? Now, the issue is, how did you raise your child? Because I've lived at home, I've moved back home two or three different times. 2 or 3 different times I've moved back in with my parents. My parents never had an issue with me disrespecting their rules or their house. My sister lives at home. There's no issue about her disrespecting the rules. Well, Gabe, that's just because, you don't know. Let me tell you. Don't guess. I'll tell you. You know why? Because my parents raised us to be adults. Let that sink in for a second. So if you have your grown son or daughter living at home and you don't trust them to obey your rules, that is your fault. There you have it. If you don't trust who you raised to be able to handle your rules, that's your fault. I said it. I heard myself say it. I heard myself in here before I said it out here. What do you mean, Gabe? How is that my fault? I'm glad you asked. Because think about it. If your child is generally disrespectful, you think they started that at 21? You think they just started being disrespectful? They never said things as children that gave you an indication that they might end up being disrespectful. You didn't have to break them off from time to time. You never had to punish them. They didn't give you any signs whatsoever that they had an ability to be disrespectful. Are you kidding me? Are you sure? Are you sure you didn't see the signs of their disrespect? Oh no, you didn't see it full bloom because they weren't grown yet. But think about this. Let me add one more piece to this because you don't like that one. Let me add this. What about disrespectful to you specifically? Why are they being disrespectful to you? Not just your house, but to you. Because at some point or another, they were, I don't care how, you might have beat them every week. Get over here for your weekly beating. Beating people without reason is stupid and abusive and illegal, by the way. I know, back in the day, that's what people did, but that's just stupid. The reason why they now call that abuse is because that's dumb. Even the Bible says a rod is made for a fool's back. Not every child. I heard stuff like this. Hey, just take that woman for next time. Okay, I didn't do nothing this time. Yeah, well, you're going to do something anyway. Wow. Okay, so you're whooping me for a potential future situation. Okay, cool, got you. So the reality of it is, if that child doesn't know how to respect your rules, you think that's happenstance? You think that's some kind of weird thing? I don't know who this child is. Yes, you do. You raised that child. You know exactly who that child is, and you don't want to be honest, but you know there were times when you kept letting that child slide. You were letting that child slide on the rules. You were willing to go to the school and beat up the teachers, the superintendent of schools, the principal, the custodians, the bus drivers behind your child. My son is so wonderful. No, teacher, that's you. That's racism. That's all that. That's y'all. That ain't my son. I was a school teacher. Trust me, I had to deal with this. And when they walk out with that hard-head boy or hard-head girl, we all looked at each other like, yeah, that kid gonna be a handful. Yeah. And unfortunately, in some cases you hear, child went to jail, child got expelled, and they ain't even made it to adult life yet. How is that possible? How can you forecast that? How is that you can tell that and they're only 10 or they're only 15? Because you see the results of this when they're in the home. If there is no fair balance, I see somebody said something about love and respect and all that kind of stuff. If you don't have a good balance of affection and chastisement when necessary, you're going to create a storm. And when that child is 27 years old and when that child is 32 years old, it's going to be a whole lot harder to curtail that child because now that child is not a child, that child is grown. Then you want to get all hardcore. Get out my house. I don't ever want to talk to you again. Get out. And then you sitting in your room. Oh, Lord Jesus, take care of Junebug. Take care of Junebug. Ah! Why you crying, take care of Junebug now? When the reality of it is, when it was time to take care of Junebug, you wasn't properly taking care. I know y'all don't want to hear nothing about bad parents. I know y'all don't like that because Father's Day and Mother's Day is coming up and you just want to believe every mother and every father is just pristine, perfect, do nothing wrong. I'm a father. My son is 15 feet away from me. So don't act like I don't know. I've been a step parent to 5 children who are all grown. So don't act like I don't know. So the reality of it is, the fact is, at some point, we have to own that we taught them or did teach. Now, there are some kids who are just hard-headed. Don't get it twisted. I understand that. You do train them, you take them to church, you teach them the right things, and they just go their own way. I get that. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to those overbearing parents who need to get real at some point or another because you 60 and your child is 40, and they are making a lot of stupid mistakes. And at some point or another, everybody looking at you, waiting to see if you ever going to be honest. And you looking at them like, don't you come at me because you ready to cuss out the world. And that's the very same behavior. Uh-oh, Gabe, don't you touch modeling. I got to touch it. Because it ain't just did you spank them. It ain't just did you make them go to bed and brush their teeth. What did you model? And overbearing parents model being overbearing. kind of a catch-20, right? So if you're overbearing as a parent, what do you think you're modeling? You're modeling being overbearing. And then if you add personal success to your overbearing behavior, they're going to think that being overbearing is a successful way of parenting. And then if they have children, what do you think they're going to do? They're either going to be extremely overbearing and potentially abusive, and I've had to talk to parents who've had their grandchildren taken from their children. That breaks my heart every time I hear it. It breaks my heart. Well, my son, I told him, son, you're going a little too far with that boy. You're going a little too far. And I'm sitting there looking at them like, why? Why do you think he's doing that? Why do you think he's doing that? That's his flesh and blood. Why do you think he's going too far with your grandson? Why do you think he's going too far with your granddaughter? Are you willing to at least be honest and acknowledge it? You may not want to do it with him, but talk to me. Be honest with me. Be honest with yourself at least. If you don't want to be honest with me, be honest with yourself. Is it possible that you model that kind of behavior? You modeled it. You demonstrated to your sons and your daughters, and maybe even now to your grandchildren, that the way to be able to be successful in this life is be hard. Is to be hardcore. I was raised on the streets, Gabe. That's all I know. Well, learn something else. Learn something else. Learn something else. When are you going to learn something else? That's a learned behavior. You can unlearn that and learn something. No, Gabe, I'm too old. I can't learn nothing else. And so you're modeling for your children, and then you can't figure out why they don't want to talk to you. You can't figure out why they avoid you at Christmas and Thanksgiving. You can't figure out why they don't want to bring their children around you. You're sitting there befuddled. I don't know why they don't want to come around me. Why are they call? Oh, this one kills me. This one gets me. Why are they calling my sister mom? Why are they calling my brother dad? And treat me more like an auntie and an uncle? Is this too deep? Am I going too deep on this stuff? If I'm going too deep, I need to go deeper. If I'm not deep enough, I need to go deeper. I got a few minutes. Look, there are reasons why people's children go to their aunts and uncles for parenting. Now, I'm going to be careful up and through here. Matter of fact, I won't even go there. I just know from my experience growing up that there were people calling my parents mom and dad, and I knew their parents very, 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 very well. That's all I'll say. And when I would question why they're doing that, since I know their parent or their parents, and they said, no, I feel like your parents, my relatives, are more like my parents. Believe it or not, children can see it. They can identify good parenting when they see it. They know it when they see it. As tough as I am, you'd be amazed. As tough as I am, my son and I just got through a few minutes ago sitting there watching a movie, talking up a storm, laughing, discussing the characters and the plots and the twist. Why? Because tough is only for a moment. It's only necessary to be tough for a moment. It ain't necessary to be tough 24/7. It ain't necessary to be tough 24/7. You only be tough for the moment. You only deal with the issue in a way that you have to be corrective, decisive, corrective, done, move on. Move on to something else. Do something else. I don't have any intention of parenting my son into his adult life. None. None. I'll be here for advice, but I don't have any desire. I'm going to be in my 50s. Listen to me. I'm going to be in my 50s when my son graduates from high school. I don't have any energy in my brain and in my body to imagine at 52 years old trying to parent that child. Well, now you're grown, son. Now let me tell you how to live your life. And if you don't go to school, no, I'm going to give you some direction. Don't get it twisted. But I have no intentions of trying to parent him. I made mistakes. My parents, well, my dad had to kind of help my mom out a little bit. But here's the philosophy I was raised with. If you make your bed hard, lie in it, right? So now I can be 1,830 some odd miles from home, from what I know, and be living and doing okay. And my parents trust that I'm doing okay, and they know that I get my son 3 times a week, and that my son in my care is fine. He's doing well. His mother can trust our son in my care because she's met my parents. She's seen me do what I do. So understand what I'm saying. I'm bragging on them. I'm not bragging on me. I know you're missing that. I'm not really bragging on me. I'm bragging on them. Do you understand how serious this is? My parents did the job. My mom taught me how to cook. Well, she wasn't keen on the cooking part because I'm left-handed, but that's neither here nor there. But she taught me how to clean. She taught me how to clean myself. She taught me how to care for other people. She modeled that. She cared for me. She showed me how to care for others so that I can effectively raise my son. But not just raise my son as a grown man. I can care for others. I can have conversations even with his brother, with his sister, whom I was a stepfather over for 7 years. So you have to understand, that's not a brag on me. That's a brag on them. There is the give you flowers before, while you yet live. Well, let me give my parents their flowers. Now, neither one of them are on here, but let me give them flowers. And if you know them, send them. Hey, Gabe gave you flowers tonight on his broadcast. Oh, he did? My parents were not overbearing in my life, which is why I have the confidence and I have the esteem. I don't call it self-esteem. I have the spiritual confidence and the spiritual esteem, because the one thing they showed me was what genuine faith in God looks like. So when they had reasons to be anxious, we were not wealthy people growing up. They're not wealthy people now. God has blessed them, but they're not wealthy. We knew how to handle life. We knew when things were lean and tough, like 2020 was, and 2021 has been. I had no reason to believe I couldn't survive through the quarantine. I had no reason to believe that I wasn't going to be able to be okay, as long as, of course, COVID didn't take me out, which I did get it, and obviously didn't take me out. I had no reason to believe that my son wasn't going to be good because of how I was raised. And if you think I'm just up here blowing smoke, you have to understand. You have to understand, if an overbearing parent is not careful, and unfortunately I know a lot of people who were raised in my generation, who were raised by overbearing parents, to the point where, honestly, they barely can keep jobs. I'm not trying to be mean. They barely can keep jobs. They barely sustain relationships. And I don't mean just marriage. I mean any. Their friendships are up and down. They're always looking over their shoulder to see. They're running back to that overbearing parent more often than not. Now, they may not even talk to that parent on the regular until something bad happens. Then that's the one parent they'll choose to go to. They won't go to the parent who was there, who, taught them to be respectful. No, they'll go find that one particular parent who's overbearing, and you better handle that, boy. You better handle that. Don't let that boss get over on you. You want me to go down there, son? No, Dad, I got it, Dad. That's who they'll turn to. I've had enough conversations, again, with mothers. Gabe, my son, I want him to be I want his dad to be in his life, but, he's really not healthy for him. I'll be like, how old is your son? Oh, he's in his 20s. Sorry. We just have to pray that he will realize that his dad is toxic. Now, I've avoided that word for an hour, but let me use it. Overbearing parents are toxic, and there is no two ways about it. You can give me all the particular reasons that you want to give me why you think being overbearing is justified, but let's just be honest. That is toxic. And not only is it toxic when they are born and toxic through adolescence and teen years, but it's just as toxic in their adult life. It's just as toxic to continue to deal with your grown children as an overbearing parent. Let me ask you this final question. And I want us to think about this one before we go. What's going to happen when you die? For every overbearing parent who might be watching me, what happens when you die? You have created an insecurity in that child that suggests that they can't live without you. You have even said it. I know you said it. You said it to yourself. You said it to yourself. This boy can't do nothing without me. That should scare you to death. This girl, ooh, she's just trifling. She can't do nothing without me. That should scare you. That should scare you. Something inside of you should turn over and realize, oh my God, what have I created? What have I done? Now, I'm not telling you to get off this broadcast, sit in your room, and go into depression. No, don't do that. Let's talk quickly now about maybe some things that we can do that to, start moving from one place to another. Maybe your kids don't deal with you. Hey, let's pray together. But if you're still in your child's life, and I know this would be a 180, I get it. But let's talk about a few things that I think that you can start doing. One, off the rip, apologize. Yeah, I said it. Apologize. And don't just say, I'm sorry. Be honest. Be specific. You know what, son? You know what, daughter? I know, you're 30-some years old, you're 40, whatever. Let me apologize. For what? For what? Because the truth of the matter is, I stunted your growth. I don't take the blame for every decision you've made, but I understand the foundation that was laid. I laid it. And some of those decisions that you've made, I've sat back and watched your relational choices. I've watched your educational, how you bounce in and out of school, and you go and then you drop and withdraw and you drop and you go in and you never seem to be able to make any concise decision. I realized I may have had a hand in that. As a matter of fact, not I may have, I did. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry, son. I'm sorry, daughter. I had a hand in that. When I watch you with my grandchildren, I grieve. What you grieve for, Mom? What's wrong with you? You know why I grieve? Because I know you're doing what I modeled. You're doing what I showed you to do. You're doing, yeah, you told me to be tough. You know what, son? Yeah, you should be tough when you need to be. Now, I can't tell you what to do with my grandbabies, but I know this. If you keep doing what you're doing, you keep doing what I modeled. Now, Gabe, this is humiliating. Gabe, this is too humbling. Gabe, I can't do it. And if you can't do it, don't expect them to do it. If you can't do this, how do you expect them to do it when you're trying to rip their head off behind how they're talking to your daughter and granddaughter, to your grandson? Oh, I know. I live in the South now. I know what you're going to do, right? You're going to take them in when they run away, right? You're going to be grandma and grandpa to the rescue. And yet in the back of your mind, you're going to know that it was actually your fault, at least in part. Isn't that a double standard? Isn't that amazing that you'll take in the grandchildren who are only with you because your children are doing what you taught them to do? Hey, I'm a pastor, man. I've given counsel to all this stuff. I have had conversations with people about all of this. This stuff ain't new to me. This stuff ain't new. Cruel, manipulative games. Again, if you don't do what I tell you to do, I'm going to cut you out my will. And now, of course, somebody like me, well, who cares? Well, for them, hearing that all their life. All they know is their mom. All they know is their dad, and they're 40 years old. That's all they know. That's all they know. Now we come along going, girl, you need to get over it. We don't understand. Man, you just need to let that go, man. Your mom is toxic. Yeah, they hear you. They agree with you. But what do you want them to do? That's all they know. They don't know any better. Let me do this quickly. So the first thing, apologize. Humble yourself and apologize to your grown son and your grown daughter that just maybe you were overbearing because that's what you were taught, and you're not excusing yourself. You're not giving yourself any break. And hey, can you please forgive me? But if you don't forgive me, I understand. And then the next thing, if they're willing to listen, son, daughter, I can't fix what I did. I can't fix it. You're grown. But if you would allow me to begin to show you the respect and the love and the affection you deserve. Gabe, are you serious? Yes. No, you can't. Oh, come here, little boy. No, you can't do that. You can't do that. But you can hug them. You can speak in an upbeat and positive way to them. You can stop being so daggone critical of everything you think they're doing. I don't care if you're right. I don't care if you're right. They're too used to you being critical and you always right, like you're literally always right. Yeah, Jesus. No, you're not Jesus. You're not God. Stop that madness. You're not always right. I don't care what you think. So when will you not only say, hey, look, I'm sorry, then say, give me a chance to prove to you, not only I'm not always right, but to show you the affection to whatever degree you will allow me to do it, to be a real part of your life. Well, you're a part of my life. No, I want to be a part of your life that's healthy. I don't want to be toxic in your life. I don't want you to avoid me when you really need advice. I don't want you to avoid me. I don't even want you to use me. I don't want you to misuse me, son. Because that's the third thing. It may also be time to have to tell some truth to that son or that daughter who has become now a user. They're using you. They're misusing their siblings. That's a whole nother conversation that we probably still need to have. They're misusing, because I've had that talk in the last couple of months. They're misusing their siblings. They're mistreating their siblings, and you actually had something to do with that too. Whether you want to admit it or not, you had something to do with that because of how you treated them. You put them on the pedestal, and then you dogged out the other ones who didn't want to do everything you told them, and you created a breach between siblings. You might not have meant to do that. It doesn't matter. You did that. You created that. Now, I know this is not happy. This is not, yeah, Gabe, make me laugh. No. Sometimes, James chapter 4, right? That's in the Bible. Sometimes we need to stop laughing and we need to get serious and we need to mourn over some things. Don't kill yourself. Don't go bury yourself in your room. Don't do that. Don't tell people I told you to do that. No, I'm giving you things to do, action steps. But it's going to take you willing to be humble. Now, think about what I'm telling you. If you're not willing to be humble, let me give you a proverb. Pride goes before destruction. A haughty spirit before a fall. So you're going to let your pride destroy you and your children, and maybe your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren. Why would you do that? Why would you let your pride over the revelation of your own mistakes drive you to the destruction? Well, Gabe, my family's already destroyed. No. We used to sing a song that we wrote, where there's life, there is hope. That's the name of the song. And I want to tell you tonight, if you're still alive, your children are still alive, and you have any measure of communication, even a little bit, they're willing to take a text message from you, email, anything. They even occasionally almost kind of visit you. If there is any kind of communication with that child, you have a chance. And no, their initial reaction might not be very respectful. Their initial reaction might be like, what's wrong with you? You dying? You sick? That might be how they respond. Hey, suck it up, bite your tongue, and keep going forward. I hope you care enough about that relationship between you and your grown children to want to do something about it if you see that it is broken. Maybe you went a little too far in the advice you gave. Maybe you weren't an overbearing parent when they were children, but in their adult life, because of embarrassment or whatever your reasons, you've gotten pushy. You've gotten a little too much. Well, Gabe, they're just making bad decisions. Who made you God? I'm sorry, you're not God. I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how much you think you know your children. You are not in their heads. Stop acting like you're reading their thoughts. You are not reading your children's thoughts. Stop acting like you're God. That's pride. That's pride talking. And you're destroying your relationship with your children. And if you so happen to have a child in the home like I do, catch yourself now, sit down and really do your homework on you. Check yourself. Ask yourself, am I the kind of parent Gabe's been talking about? Now, I didn't cover every little nook and cranny. I posted 2 articles. Please read those articles. There's plenty out there. Familiarize yourself with this. Maybe you know somebody like this. Please share this on your Facebook page. Do a watch party. I'll be posting this on my YouTube channel. And if you would like the link to that, I'll give that link. Once I get it posted, I'll give you the link. I'll send it to you in your Facebook Messenger. And then you can share this with as many as you possibly can. They can go to my YouTube page and watch it. Don't be greedy with this stuff. Help people out with this stuff. Yeah, I said some very tough stuff. But everybody needs somebody in their life who's willing to say the tough thing that most of us don't want to hear. I am that for you. And I'm willing to be that for you. But let me tell you, I love you. I don't do these broadcasts for me. I know what I know. I use this stuff on me, for me. I share it with those who call me, those who text me, those who I give it to them. I've had people say, Gabe, why don't you write books? Man, I'll pay you for it. No, when I can give it for free. I'm giving this for free. I want you to get this stuff. Take this, use this in your life. And I've had testimonials of people saying, Gabe, I was able to get remarried. Gabe, I was able to work through some anxiety. Gabe, I was able to, and I'm not bragging. I'm just telling you the truth. I could name names, but I'm not going to do that because I don't have permission. But there are people right now on my Facebook page who have watched these broadcasts on Thursdays and have told me that it has given them insight. It has helped them. So I'm telling you, don't be so prideful that you can't allow somebody like little old me to help you. Why would you do that? Why would you cheat yourself out of the potential information? Well, you think you're smarter than me? You probably are. Because you got more money than me? You more than likely do. Because you look better than me? I'm sure you do. I don't know what that has to do with anything I'm talking about, but if that's what you're using to excuse yourself from learning from me, that's your business. Why are you watching the broadcast then? Why are you watching? Nobody's coming to watch these broadcasts without the hope that I might say something that can either help them or someone they know. Now, finally, to those of you who have been in the household of overbearing parents, I love you. I'm praying for you. You probably feel bitter. You don't want to admit it, but you probably have some bitterness, and that's understandable. It's not healthy. It's not healthy. Please hear me. That's not healthy. You may be holding a grudge going back 20 and 30 and 40 years. I know people like this. This is why this stuff matters to me, because I know people who are older than me who were raised by the very kind of parent I'm talking about, their parents have died and they can't go to that parent and fix it. And they have grudges. They have decades-long grudges. They are mad. They are angry. They feel cheated. They are bitter. And you are hurting your own self. Maybe that mother or father is still alive. And you have a chance, if you are willing to take it, and I know, Gabe, but you just don't understand. You're probably right. You're probably right. I don't understand. All I'm telling you is, at least talk to me. Let's talk. Or get somebody you trust and share with them that bitterness, because you don't want to be bitter. I had a great conversation with a young lady. Well, she's not technically young. She's older than me. But she had a father who just passed. He was 90 years old, 93. She's in her 60s. She may even end up watching this back on YouTube. She follows me on YouTube. And he was a bitter old cuss. I mean, that's what she told me. He was mean-spirited. He said things that were hurtful to all of his kids. He had quite a few children. To his grandkids. I mean, he didn't really care. He was bitter. He was mean. But you know what? She said, Gabe, he's my dad. And, I listened to her talk about how she worked through that. She said, Gabe, I made my peace. Now, there are times I had to put him in his place. I had to let him know something. But I always respected him, even in that. Look, relationships in families are hard. You know this. I'm not telling you something you don't know. Relationships between parents and children can at times be very, very tense, very, very difficult, including grown children and their parents. Sometimes those can go to fisticuffs. Those can go to decades long. You don't even get to see your grandkids. I mean, it can get crazy. You're cut all out their life. They cut you out the wheel. I mean, I've heard some horror stories. Unfortunately, even murder. Even people killing one another. Right? So understand, this is some serious stuff I'm talking about. I try to offer some levity when I can, but sometimes we just got to get really serious. So I hope I've said something to help you. But if you're one of those who are children with parents, hey, Gabe, I love my mom. I love my dad. I just can't deal with them. I know this is going to sound unchristian to some of you who don't quite understand the Bible. But the Bible says, as much as lies within you, live peaceably. Which means God, through I believe the Apostle Paul, recognized and helped us to understand that we only have certain levels that we can take. I don't recommend that you try to be in that person's company and they get under your skin. And you might not like that and you feel like that's not right. You can't argue it. Trust me, I've taught this stuff. There's no scripture to back you up. I got plenty to back me up. My recommendation is that you love them, is that you respect them, is that you speak to them when you do speak to them with the highest levels of respect you can muster. But I also recommend you keep a distance. You have to guard your heart. You have to guard your mind. They are toxic. They are destructive. And quite frankly, in my opinion, this ain't God, this is me, they don't deserve your company. They don't. Now, you may have to do business for them, such as it's a parent, and you go do your business. Mom, I'm not calling to argue with you. These are the things that we need to deal with. Boom, 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 boom. She starts fussing. Okay, Mom, you're not ready to talk. Talk to you later. Bye. Love you. Click. Try it again. A week. Hey, Mom, calling again concerning that business. Well, okay. Then you do as much business as you can get done. I watched my mom do this. 10 years. My grandmother was no walk in the park at all. And my mother figured out how to navigate that situation. My grandmother was on dialysis for 10 years, from the ages of 80 to 90 years old. Now, it was rough. I didn't always agree with some of the things that my mother chose to do, but I respected the fact that, first of all, that's her mother. Second of all, I'm not the one in the position as caretaker, so I shut my mouth and I left them to themselves. And I respected that relationship as it was. And the fact is, my mother's care for my grandmother caused her to survive on dialysis for 10 years. And she didn't even get her first treatment till she was 80. So you take it for all it's worth. But that's some stuff right there. Again, I love you. I'm praying for you. There's more I could say, but that's more specific to individuals. So contact me, hit me up on Messenger, ask me some questions, share with me your situation. Let's pray together. Let's talk together. Well, Gabe, I'm not a Christian. Well, that ain't got to do with me. I am, so I can pray for you. So share with me. Let's talk. I know this is a tough subject. I know it is. But it doesn't mean that we can't overcome. It doesn't mean that we can't get better. All right. Have a good one.